911, what's your emergency?
At Intellitech, providing safe, secure software with superior support isn't just words, it's a belief and a lifestyle that we breathe every day.
Computer-aided dispatch, jail management, full Esri mapping. We illuminate opportunities to help our agencies become incredibly successful in their public safety mission.
It's rewarding because at the end of the day, I know I've made a difference for someone.
We know how critical your operation is, and we are uniquely positioned to be the difference maker for you now and well into the future. Intellitech, one company, committed.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Show Up, Defining Service Excellence in the ECC. I am Jen Dvorsky with the DataMark team, and I will be the moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I'd like to let everyone know that we are recording this session and that all attendees have been muted for quality assurance purposes, and we do encourage the use of questions through the chat and Q&A section of the platform. Today's presenter is Director Tyrell Morris. He is the Executive Director of Orleans Parish Communication District with more than 15 years of success, leading operations within high-profile, diverse public, private, and nonprofit organizations. He is also highly accomplished in emergency and crisis management with expertise in leading business-wide projects that make an impact. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Director Morris.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna try my best to multi-screen here with questions and chat and all that jazz. But throughout the presentation, feel free to drop your questions or chat if you have any specific comments or questions about the presentation. Today, we're gonna talk about show up and what it means to show up for our people each and every day. You know, it is no longer okay for us just to come to work, just to be there in the presence, just to clock in and be present for our scheduled shift. Here at OCCD, we have a philosophy that our people demand us to show up. Where the show up philosophy came from is when I got to New Orleans, I heard a lot of rules and rumors that, you know, staff here are rude, just a general culture. You would think a city with Southern hospitality would be known for its service, but the agency was in the midst of a transition and I had to change a culture. And so when I asked the leadership team what were our pain points, why did our staff have this reputation of being rude? And the response was, well, they just don't do right. And I'm like, well, you can't really train or hold people accountable to just do better. So the show up philosophy clearly defines the service expectation that we have for everyone that works at OCCD, either be a call taker, a dispatcher, myself, a leadership team, and what that means to how we expect people to behave when they move through their work. All right, so a little bit about myself. I'm originally from the inner city of Philadelphia. I've lived most of my life in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I moved here in New Orleans in 2017. I took a job here at OCCD as the Deputy Director of Operations. In May of 2018, the city of New Orleans elected its first female mayor in over 300 years of existence. And Mayor Cantrell asked me to assume the role of director in August of 2018. And it's been a wild ride and fun ride ever since then. I hold a master's degree in public administration and hospitality management. In my previous experience outside of public safety included the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida, Palace Entertainment, and Six Flags. I did have 9 years in the fire department, and my 911 career began in Fairfax County at the Department of Public Safety Communications. But one thing that's different about me is that I know when I'm okay with being different. I know that my leadership style is different. I think differently. And it took me a very long time to be okay with that. Growing up in the inner city or just being around with my generation, you know, it wasn't necessarily the cool thing to be the smart kid in the room. It wasn't the cool thing to have the different idea, the thought process that didn't go with the norm or the status quo. So I spent a lot of my time growing up trying to fit into what everyone else around me was doing. But the moment that I became okay and I began to accept that I'm different, I'm unique, and I'm destined for leadership, then the world literally became an oyster. It's opened its doors to me. And so to those of you all that are attending this webinar, you're here today. You've made a choice to sit here for the next hour with me because you yourself are different. And so my word to those individuals that find themselves in a place where they're struggling in their difference, the moment that you can rest in that uniqueness that you bring, the moment is when you have the potential to realize your true excellence or rise to the occasion. Let me give you a little bit about who we are at OPCD and what we do.
City of New Orleans 911, what's the address of your emergency? Orleans Parish Communication District is the safety net and sounding board to a vibrant city that's continuously bustling.
You know, as an agency, we take over 1 million calls a year. This city, with a resident population of about 450,000, what makes us so unique is we see 18 million visitors a year. During Mardi Gras, our call volume doubles. So the mission of OPCD is very simple. It's to get the right people to the right place at the right time.
And that simple yet critical mission is executed by utilizing the latest, best technology and having partnerships with companies such as Motorola.
All of our partners have worked with us for a number of years and are aware that OPCD intends to be on the forefront of providing our services to our customers, both our public safety agencies and our citizens. It's very important that we have the right technology and that we stay on the edge of what's available.
Including technology that will give telecommunicators a view of what a caller is experiencing in real time, bringing video to the 911 call center immediately. Knowing how to use the technology and understanding protocol is key to getting the job done. OPCD's training and compliance team monitors calls and the radio to take notes on what can be improved, constantly bettering the system.
Let me know if you need anything, all right?
Proper training, dedication, and empathy are all part of the foundation of OPCD, which receives local, even national attention.
The reason OPCD is so successful is because we spend a lot of time pouring into the training of our telecommunicators. We provide the proper technology for them to operate on. And most importantly, we care about their mental and physical well-being.
City of New Orleans 311, how may I help you?
311 is so important because it serves as a resource available to citizens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year to obtain information, submit service requests, and report non-emergency, but still very important situations to appropriate government agencies.
As the gateway to city government, 311 puts the need of the citizen first and with the most care. Call takers listen effectively and respond by navigating citizens to appropriate solutions. Solutions offered by skilled experts.
And we do it like true professionals, and our staff that work here day in and day out, 24/7, 365, do it with the most fever, the most attention to detail, and I'm extremely proud of the work that our heroes in the headset do each and every day.
Orleans Parish Communication District. One city, one agency, one mission.
All right. So a little bit about who we are as an organization. Again, we are the only PSAP in Orleans Parish. We're the only organization that receives 911 calls that originate in the city of New Orleans. We are a consolidated center, so our staff that answer the phone, we don't do any transferring. Our call takers take police, fire, and EMS calls, and we service all of the public safety agencies. So the New Orleans Police Department, New Orleans EMS, which is a separate agency from the New Orleans Fire Department, the New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and 6 of the various law enforcement agencies, be they federal agencies, state agencies, or our university police departments. We have 180 gladiators, as I call them, but team members. We process both 911 and 311 calls, and in 2020 we processed over 1.2 million calls. Now, With a resident population of only 450,000, one person would ask, why the hell do you take so many calls? The average PSAP takes one call for every 2 residents, but clearly that's not our scenario here. New Orleans welcomes and protects over 18 million visitors a year. We are the events capital of the world. We have over 450 festivals annually, and we're known for throwing some of the world's largest events, such as the Essence Music Festival, and of course, Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is 14 days where 1.4 million people come to our city and enjoy what the city has to offer. Here's a look at our organization chart. Of course, myself as the executive director, we're split into 5 different business units. So 311 operations is one. We have technology operations is the management of the operations floor. We have support services, and we have training and compliance. Training and compliance is separated on purpose because from an accreditation requirement to really ensure that there is a true pathway for unfiltered information to my office, the training and compliance manager does report directly to me. So we are only interested in hiring gladiators that want to do the work for our city. Anyone else can seek their happiness elsewhere. This is so critical as an agency that was in the midst of a major transition. We only consolidated in 2016, and it took a long time for everybody to understand or realize what the true intention of the consolidation was. And so we knew that the reason the organizations consolidated is that 911 operations in the city of New Orleans was a joke to our people. Yeah, you had 5-minute hold times. You had no clear protocols. You had no clear policies and procedures about how the system should work. And so it took a long time for us to go through the people and really make a decision. Do you subscribe to the new culture of excellence, or do you want to be a part of it? If not, then we have to find some other place for you to go or transition you out of the organization. So now we call ourselves gladiators because now everyone that works here wants to work here, and we're only interested in hiring those individuals that want to be gladiators. If you come to work every day and you make a mistake and you don't feel bad about the mistake, or you don't constantly strive to be the true professional that we know you can be, then this probably isn't the best place for you. So we talk about show up. What is show up? Show up defines the expectation we have for our staff that guides each and every interaction, whether it be a member of the public, our partners, and each other. Let's take a moment to look at when our staff absolutely showed up for our people.
I was nervous, but I was ready. When you're a dispatcher, anything can happen at the spur of the moment. So once something happens, you just have to jump in. At a split second, you need to decide what it is you're going to do. Whether you're going to leave or you're going to stay. I work 911. I'm fully committed, 10 years. I'm not leaving. So at that point, all I can do is make sure my family is okay. Once I made sure they was okay, my heart and everything goes to the citizens. We need to make sure they are going to be okay.
It was unbelievable how much damage it did in just that short period of time. And that's not something we deal with. We're not used to experiencing tornadoes.
When stuff happens, your resources, your training is all the same. The need to save lives doesn't change in any circumstance. So we really just did what we normally did. We just kicked it into high gear.
I had all the high priority calls that you normally get once a week. I had them all in 3 hours. So it was just like so much going on at one time. So you don't have time to think. You just have time to react. These people need help. I need the help. That's my job.
No one died. And that's very rare in a natural disaster of this nature, especially that hits you completely unaware.
My family thinks I'm a hero. I don't feel like I'm a hero, but I help.
Giving up is never an option. For me, it's personal.
Duty is to give 100% all the time. When you choose this profession, you know your duty is to help complete strangers. Every contact you make could potentially save a life.
Duty means honoring what you signed up for.
It just means for me to be there and act for the citizens. That's my duty.
All right, so let's break down what Show Up really stands for, okay? So the first S of the acronym is to be sincere and empathetic. So we work in an industry, public safety, that is driven by emotion, right? And so it is unacceptable for us to expect our staff to turn their emotions off to deliver a service. And so our goal here is to teach them how to provide service while still managing their emotion. So when they walk in the door, we tell staff, we have a phrase, it's okay to feel. If home is crazy, let's help you get home right for you. If your marriage or your relationship is causing you some stress, we're going to throw tools your way to help you get that together. So when you do walk in this door, you are in the best position possible to show up for our people. Traditionally, in a law enforcement driven industry, the theory or the philosophy or the theme is this is work, that's personal. That is impossible for us as humans to separate those two things. And so we decided to surround ourselves, our staff, with support to help them manage and maneuver through the challenges of life. So they are more set up or capable of handling everybody else's emergencies when they start answering the phones or dispatching the units. But the S, sincere and empathetic, is about perception. So the callers or the units, if you're not perceived as being sincere and empathetic, accept that you weren't. I could say all day long to my supervisor that no, I wasn't rude to the caller, but if a caller perceives me as being rude or insincere, then it's interfering with the mission of the organization. And so we tell staff that there's an expectation that you treat people, that you leave this sincerity and that you empathize with them. You know, this classic idea of a dispatcher getting mad or a call taker getting mad when a 911 caller swears at them and uses profane language. And they get so upset. I'm like, why are you taking it so personal? This person's having the potential worst day of their life, but you think that they know your name is Jill and they talking about you. No, they have no idea. So just understand, try to empathize and put yourself in their shoes and really seek to understand why they are so elevated. But there is an expectation of staff that they are sincere in their delivery. If you tell someone thank you and we don't think you're sincere or you're being sarcastic, you're not meeting our standards. It is what it is.
During the month of September, our heroes under the headset here at OCCD join the entire country as we draw awareness of suicide prevention. If you come across someone that experiences anxiety, a change in sleep habit, begin to feel a sense of hopelessness or depression, I would ask you to consider making a phone call to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Or if you believe that person is in an emergency crisis, simply call 911. And our 180 heroes under the headset behind me stand ready 24/7, 365 days a year to answer that call. This is not something to be ashamed about. We understand that suicide is real, mental health is real, and it requires government to apply resources intentionally to help you aid in this crisis.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm here.
I'm here for you.
We care.
All right, doesn't that make you feel like we're sincere, what we're talking about? So, you know, we produce these public service announcements quite often and post them on social media, but it also puts a little pressure on our staff that you have to live up to what we're saying in the public. You have to live up to the expectation that we are going to be sincere and we're delivering these services. The H in the Show Up acronym stands for honest and humble. Tell the truth. The team here knows the fastest way to get out of hot water really is to be honest. But ultimately, there's not too many things that can happen in the emergency communications field that we can't backtrack or figure out what really happened. So we ask staff, be honest with us, but also be honest with the callers. If the callers call 911 and say, hey, I've called for a police officer, they're not here yet. And there was a practice where the dispatcher would say, we have a unit, we'll get an officer out there as soon as one's available. And the citizen will say, well, are they en route? And you look at the CAD system and you see they're en route, and the call taker will say, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm not able to give that information. Well, why? When I ask the question why, the response is, well, the caller, the officer may get rerouted to a high priority call, or the ambulance may get rerouted. That That's absolutely can happen, but the citizens expect us to be honest with them. And so there's nothing wrong with you telling the citizen on the phone that, hey, I do see a unit en route to you now. If they don't get, they should be there shortly if they don't get rerouted to a higher priority call, period. That way there's an expectation and people feel like we are protecting the public trust and telling them the information. Humble yourself. Everyone can learn something from everyone. Even our newest recruit, when they hit the floor, there is something that the trainer can learn from them. This was very difficult for our older trainers who have been here 20 plus years, right? They understand, they feel like they are the end all be all to how 911 should operate. But the reality is the recruit coming out of the academy has the freshest training. They have the freshest review of the rules. They have the freshest certification. And so probably there's something that the trainer can learn from the trainee. But we had to set this up as an expectation. And so we would guard to help us prevent these instances of I'm the trainer, I'm the more senior person, do what I say. No, humble yourself and listen, and you may learn something in the process. Next, optimistic. Yes, I expect you to come to work in a good mood. We fully understand that people have bad days, but that cannot be your norm. We do not allow that to live in our space. It's funny because every organization has their negative Nancy's. This addresses their negative Nancy's. If I walk into the room and there's someone's always complaining, I don't like this, I don't like that, you better be following up at least 2 solutions to the problem. There is a cultural, there's a corporate expectation in policy, there's a corporate expectation in culture that we expect our staff to be optimistic about the work. If someone says, oh, I'm so sick of taking these calls, well, maybe you probably shouldn't work in 911 because this is what you signed up for. And so, of course, like I said, we do understand that people have bad days, but what this does is this highlights when individuals are stepping outside of our standards and usually brings them some resolve with some resources. And so since we don't allow people to sit in pessimism or be pessimistic in their workspace, if we find that they are having that experience, someone's probably going to say something to you saying, you good? Are you okay? I feel like you're in a bad mood today. Do you need anything? And that in and of itself is usually enough for the staff member to self-correct, where it doesn't require necessarily the involvement of a supervisor. It doesn't have to appear to be punitive, where it just means that, we're looking out for each other. But there is a very strong and clear expectation that, yes, we expect you to be optimistic about the work that we are doing and coming here. Next, you got to be well-informed and willing. It's not what you know, is what you should know. So if the agency issues a policy about something and you sign that you received it and you read it and understood it, and then the next day the caller asks for a specific piece of information and you don't give it, and your response of, well, I didn't know, goes out the window. Staff here are evaluated on the information they should know, not what they actually do know. An example I give is, a paramedic, right? They spend some time every year doing continuing education and getting caught up on the current trends of the industry. There's this new stabilizing device, this new drug. Doctors do the same thing. Us as emergency communications professionals need to adopt the same type of understanding or gusto to make sure that we are on the top of our game. So if there's a call taker on the floor, an employee of OCCD in 2021 that can't tell me what next generation 911 is at this point, that's a problem. You are ill-informed, and we expect you to be well-informed. Finally, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to do the work. If a supervisor says to you, hey, I need you to sit on the phone and take calls, and you're met with, that's not what I signed up for today, I signed up to be a fire dispatcher, we're going to have a problem. So we expect that everyone is willing to do the work of the agency. Sometimes we tell people, say, oh, well, job description says other duties are assigned. No, we don't go there. We expect you to be willing to do what we ask. Now, if someone says, hey, I need you to help us, I don't know, clean up the quiet room today, and we're met with a, oh my God, or an attitude, or you're not, the appearance that you are unwilling, someone's going to have a conversation with you. Now, if you are always the person picked to clean the bathroom or clean the kitchen, then yeah, say something. But it doesn't mean you're not willing but we have an equity issue here. But we expect people to be willing and well-informed in the execution of their duties. And a reminder to you all, if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, drop them in the chat. I do have it up and I'm monitoring. Finally, upbeat and positive. Yes, you got to be in a good mood. Yes, no one wants to be around your sour attitude in this space handling emergencies. Our call takers take up to 200 calls a shift for 12 hours, and no one wants to deal with your negative attitude. Yes, callers make us frustrated. The work gets exhausting, but we have to work to keep each other upbeat and positive because that makes the day go faster. If I walk in the door at 3 a.m. and I say, hey, everybody, good morning, you don't got to match my energy. But if I'm hit with a, hey, or here he come with his loud self this early in the morning, we're going to have a conversation. And so we do expect people to have a general positive disposition about themselves when they're in the workspace. We have sent plenty of people home because their attitude was not ready to do the work of this agency. But people may say, oh my God, that's so harsh. Our staff love it. They love that we establish the boundaries. They love that we establish guidelines and we give them the tools, and they're consistent. They're not, today we care, tomorrow we don't. No, you must show up each and every day. Now, someone is having a bad moment, right? They're pretty short with somebody. They have a bad disposition. I'm not saying we're going to fire you. We're not going to send you home if that's the moment. But someone in leadership or maybe your peer is going to say to you, what's going on? Talk to me. How can we get you out of this moment right now? And we have the difficult conversations. Look, we spend more time here than we do with our own families. And so sometimes there are some personality clashes. We teach our staff consistently how to maneuver in those moments. We don't just say, y'all adults work it out, because guess what? Not all adults have learned how to work it out. So we, through our roll call trainings, talk about workplace conflict, talk about managing the difficult conversation. We model the behavior, but also the leadership is expected to lead those conversations when it's necessary. So yes, we do expect you to be upbeat and positive. Some people say, one employee said to us once, you expect me to come in here all happy all the time? Yes, I do. That's what is required to work at this agency. Because if you don't have that disposition, when you pick up the phone, you're not going to be delivering exceptional service. So yes, that is a requirement. For those of you all that are struggling with a morale issue in your organization, your staff want clarity. They want clear guidelines. They want rules to work within. And these have worked very well for us. And finally, last but certainly not least, you must follow the rules. You must be procedurally compliant. You must understand the rules to operate within. You need to understand the policies. Now, although this is last, it's last for a reason, because all 6 of these elements are equally as important. You following the rules is just as important as you being sincere and empathetic. You could be a phenomenal call taker giving phenomenal CPR instructions, but if you have a poor disposition or you sound like a robot, you will be rendered ineffective in the delivery of the service. So we strive to find a balance between all 6 of these things, and it's so critical that our staff have these parameters to work within. This is how it looks up all together. Now, people say, well, how did you roll this out? We had this everywhere. There are signs everywhere. They wear buttons that say, did you show up today? They have shirts that they wear. And we got the whole city now saying, if you notice, if you watch the mayor at her press conferences, whenever she's up there with me, she references show up. It is a culture. It is a philosophy. It is a belief system. No, it's not a cult, but it is absolutely standards that we have 100% adopted and focus ourselves around it. How many of you all have these performance evaluations you have to do every year? If you do, put your little hand up in the Zoom chat so we have some interaction with you. So we were one of those organizations that had these super long 3-page, 15 different sections of performance evaluations. And when I asked the staff, what did you get from this? They would have said, nothing. It's just an opportunity for my supervisor to tell me what I did wrong, or people where I'm trying to get a pay increase. So our new performance evaluations have 6 boxes on them, SHOWUP. And the supervisor and the employee are asked to tell us how they fit within these parameters and rank themselves. And also the second part of it is setting some goals for the next year. But that's how we've embraced this culture through and through. All right, so we're all human, right? We all make mistakes. We all have moments where we miss the mark. But one thing we have not taught our staff in the past is how to recover. We don't teach people in the normal training of a new employee how to recover from when you mess up, how to recover from a bad day, how to recover from that difficult conversation with your supervisor, where that supervisor had to establish some ground rules or rules of engagement when we're moving throughout the space. So we took it a step further. We have taught our staff how to recover from those mistakes. Here's an example of one mistake in 911 that happens. That happens quite often.
County 911 dispatcher has been disciplined for telling a traumatized teenage girl to, quote, stop whining.
That girl called to get help for her father who died and his fiancee after they were both run down Sunday night by a driver while changing a flat on the side of the BW Parkway. 11 News reporter Kate Amara is live in the newsroom with more on this emergency exchange. Kate.
And Donna and Sam, before we play you this recording, keep in mind that Anne Arundel County officials say this is not acceptable, it is not appropriate, and they know the public feels the same way.
Ma'am, please stop yelling. Stop yelling, please.
That 911 dispatcher won't be taking any more emergency calls for a while. He's been disciplined for the way he talked to a traumatized teenager, a girl who just watched her father and his fiance get hit by a car on 295 North, and who was now watching her dad lay dying on the side of the road.
The two people were struck.
Yeah, they both ran. They just
Okay, let's stop whining. Okay, let's stop whining. It's hard to understand you.
Anne Arundel County fire officials are investigating.
I think the dispatcher, in his effort to try to ascertain information from the caller, used a poor choice of words.
A poor choice, which Captain Russ Davies says got the operator pulled off the phones.
As a result of this dispatcher has been moved to a position within the department where he will not have contact with the public.
First responders did eventually get to that crash on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway near 198 by tracking the teen's cell phone. What they have yet to find, the car and its hit-and-run driver that killed the girl's father.
My father's landlord, they just laying here. They're just laying here. Nothing. They just laying.
Is there someone else there I can talk to? Because it's so hard.
It's only my little brother. I'm fucking better than him right now.
Captain Davies wants to be quite clear. While the dispatcher handled that call improperly, his performance did not impact the turnout time of the units or the response time to the emergency. Live in the studio tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kate, thank you.
Now, do you believe that call taker was intentionally trying to provide poor service? I firmly believe that the call taker's objective there was to execute the mission, get the right people to the right place at the right time, but struggled with the empathy, struggled with the sympathy. And that is very normal in our industry, where speed is more important than the quality of service that we provide. And what is absent here is a culture of excellence. And what I brought to New Orleans here was that culture. We say it's a show up culture. And hopefully the culture becomes second nature, that as your staff are executing the mission of your organization, they do it with these 6 elements in the background. All right, so how to show up after you show out. That's play on words there, but when staff are acting like they're not following our standards, we tell them he's showing out, not showing up. And so this is how we teach them to correct that behavior. First, pause, stop. Stop doing whatever you are doing that's outside of these show up standards. If we never stop the behavior, then there's no way to recover. So that's the first thing we have to stop. The one example I give is that, two staff members may get into a heated discussion and they may cross the line a little bit, right? And so we can never get past it if you all keep going. So we have to stop the behavior or pause. Next, own it. Own your part in this. Accept responsibility for your role that is pretty clear. And when you understand that you played a part in the degradation of service, then you have to own it. The staff will tell you again, the fastest way to get out of hot water is to own it. Walk in the room and say, I understand where I went wrong, and I accept responsibility for it. When you start trying to convince other people that your actions were within those show up standards when they were clearly not, you really insult the individuals that are speaking with you, and also you really hinder the process. So again, stop the behavior and own your part in it and accept responsibility. Next, commit to the growth. You have to want to do better. If I come to a staff member and says, hey, you were rude to an individual, they say, you know what, I was rude, but it's not followed about, and they don't follow it up with, I want to not be rude anymore, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to be back in the same situation. You have to commit to wanting to do better. You have to commit to growing outside of that behavior into compliance with our standards. And finally, move on. Once you have the incident, stop the behavior, own it, commit to the growth, get better, and then move on. Supervisory staff understand that they are not allowed to stack the deck. If someone has an attendance issue, right, and they go through the process and they correct the attendance issue and a year comes, don't come back to me a year later saying, well, remember a year ago this person was late. No, let's deal with the situation in front of us. We also don't allow the two things to cross together. So you're late over here, but now we have to have a formal action because you got an address wrong, but I'm gonna write in the disciplinary action, but you're also late. No, we do not allow staff to stack the deck. What this does, it allows staff to feel that they don't have to walk on eggshells. When staff are operating in fear, they have no ability to innovate. They're not willing to try things. They're not willing to go the extra mile for the citizens. They get hampered in their decision-making abilities. So we tell them that once you correct the behavior, we're going to allow you to move on. We're not going to hold it over your head in the future. Some words for some leaders on the call. You know, how you can make a culture like this work. There's some pillars here, right? Accept that we work in an environment run off emotions. You do not want a call taker answering a 911 call that it does not have emotions. They will sound like a robot. They will not have any empathy. They will not go the extra mile to make sure that we have the true situational awareness of what's happening on the ground. Never ever tell an employee to leave their feelings at home. It's not possible. If someone is home, you'd be amazed of how many of your staff where the safe place for them is at work. If you have a staff member you notice is constantly working overtime, they're constantly first to pick up the shift. Sometimes it's money motivated, but sometimes they're running from something. So let them feel. Do not tell them that they have to leave their feelings at home. It's not possible. Create a safe space for open, honest, and respectful feedback. This is huge. Like I do have an open door policy, and sometimes people say, oh, they bypassed me and went right to the director. No, I have an open door policy, meaning I will discuss anything with anyone. But if you want me to take a formal action, you have to go through the process. You have to go through the chain of command for a particular action to be taken. But if you want to just come to me to bring something to my attention, you want me to think about an idea, you want me to get my perspective or recommendations on things that you are doing all day long, you can come in here and we can have that conversation. But again, if you're looking for me to take some formal action, then you do have to go through the chain of command. But we allow for that space to have open, honest, and respectful feedback. Respectful is important because sometimes difficult conversations, not all of us have learned how to have those difficult conversations respectfully. And so we have to really establish that framework when we're entering those spaces that you can tell the truth here. You can be honest and open about how you feel, but what you're not going to do is yell and scream and cuss at each other because that is not respectful feedback. Always protect the underdog. Workplace bullying is a real thing. It's a real thing here in 911. It's a real thing at CVS. It's a real thing at McDonald's. Workplace bullying is a real thing. It takes a constant campaign to combat those things from happening. People to look out for, the underdogs, the ones that are always in the corner of the room, the ones that are very quiet. They may be phenomenal employees, means they execute production and productivity and their performance is high ranking, but they often are easy targets for those strong personalities, those bullish personalities. So I make sure that I hone in on those individuals to make sure, hey, are you good? Hey, I'm checking on you. How's it going? To make sure they have not been victims of the workplace bullying. The data tells us those people become the targets. The individuals that don't speak up for themselves, the individuals that don't tell the supervisor, the individuals that kind of keep the targets for bullies. Bullies exist. Find me an organization doesn't have one, I will pay you $1,000. Every organization has them, and we as leaders have a responsibility to protect those individuals. Find ways to relax and laugh in the workplace. This is National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. Today we had a big old Connect Four on the floor and staff were playing. Some industries that will be frowned upon, saying, oh, I'm not paying them to play. Yes, you are. They got to be there. They can't go home. So while they're there, make sure that the workplace is relaxed, because there are many times where we cannot. There are times that we don't have time for laughter when we're in the midst of a multi-jurisdictional police chase, or we're in the midst of a high-profile incident. That ain't the time to laugh and relax. But when those opportunities do present themselves, please allow your staff to take them. And finally, make sure it's okay to feel. People come in here in my office and then they may get emotional and cry, and they say, I'm so sorry for crying. And I say, oh, please cry. I want you to cry. That's an authentic emotion. Now, I may cry with you. This is an organization where we let feelings are okay to live here. If someone says, hey, my feelings were hurt, I don't say, oh, get over it. No, tell me what about this exchange hurt your feelings, so we can really understand and we can try our best to avoid that in the future. Now, sometimes it's the delivery of the message, not the message, that hurts people's feelings. Most people can handle hearing what they already know, but sometimes the delivery is what sends the emotional floodgates open. So just make sure that it's an organization where you are welcoming and promoting leading with feelings and emotions. And finally, every step you take must be connected to the mission of the organization. Everything. These knee-jerk, or because if the staff don't see it as connected, then they won't buy in. So even as a decision as simple as what snacks are going to be in the vending machine, I challenge my team to say, make those decisions connect to the mission. So they come back with a list of snacks. Some of it is to boost morale. So we have the ones that aren't as healthy, but we also have the balance where we're going to have the other ones available to people. So good, we connected every decision, even something as simple as vending machines, to the mission of the organization. It does matter. One thing that we do here at OPCD is we give back to our community. We have something called Project Unity, where we allow our heroes to step outside of our four walls and to continue their gladiator and heroic work in our community. So this is every quarter we do a service project, and the staff just love it. Take a look at one.
My name is Tyrell Morris, and I'm the Executive Director of the Orleans Parish Communication District, home of New Orleans 911 and 311. We believe that bike safety is a critical piece to allow our young population, or just our New Orleans in general, stay active. We want to make sure they do it safely so they don't end up calling 911 and leaving us on the other side of an accident. And so we just love an opportunity to give back today, and we look forward to seeing these efforts today during Christmas and spread some holiday cheer, and our little ones ride off with their bikes. This is a phenomenal organization. We know that our city right now is hurting. They are building up bikes and giving out a commodity, so they need funding. They need people to support them financially so they can continue their great work going forward. I think today they demonstrate clearly that they use their financial contributions and put them to good work. And so I just invite everyone to continue to support these organizations so they can continue to grow their reach and increase their mission. I remember my very first bike growing up in the inner city of Philly, coming downstairs on Christmas morning and seeing a little bike with training wheels sitting under the Christmas tree, and my parents just being so excited to see me be so happy. And I remember when I got on the bike, before getting any instructions, I just got on and started riding. Of course, I fell off, but I just kept going until I think I had training wheels off for about 2 weeks. And then once those wheels were off, I was gone. And I could never be found. This year, 2020, has not been easy on us. We have wavered many storms, literally. And the COVID-19 pandemic has gripped our city more than any other cities across the country. And so this is an opportunity we want to remind New Orleanians, stay hopeful. We will get through this together. Thank you.
Hold on. No. Here we go. 1 second. It's coming, I promise. What happened before? Okay, there we go. You can see now. All right. So great. We all good now? Somebody give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know if we're all good. Okay. Maybe the chat ain't working. All right. So let's talk about what our industry needs from us, right? So the industry, emergency communication industry needs us to be brave. It needs us to be bold. Not only did the COVID-19 pandemic really grip our industry, but it helped us redefine what we did. If you were to tell me that my organization would be responsible for arranging hot meal deliveries for over 12,000 New Orleanians on a daily basis, I would have told you were crazy. And so just keep that in mind, that not only do we have the COVID-19 pandemic, but we also have this clash right now between our underrepresented communities and our communities of law enforcement. And everyone, so there's the thought out there that this is a law enforcement issue. This is not just a law enforcement issue. The murder of George Floyd kind of revolutionized or sped up the Police Reform Act, and those of us in emergency communications, whether we work for a police department or not, we have a role to play in that. We have to make sure that our staff understand that getting good suspect descriptions is important. Getting very detailed information so the officers are not set up for failure. They're walking into a situation, they have a good idea of who they're looking for, and they interact with the right person. That if the situation is not dangerous, that we let them know that with detail so they don't have to go in so fearful. They have a solid understanding of what the risk factor is when they enter these situations. So I do have my last video is my keynote address from last year's NENA Ignite Camp Conference. And I talk about specifically about COVID's here. We're coming hopefully to the light of the end of the tunnel. And now what? Those of us that are on this call as leaders, now is the opportunity for us to really show up for our own industry.
The role of 911 has shifted quite a bit since its initial inception over 50 years ago. And I think any technology that's over 50 years old is old, is legacy. And I think it's time for us to rebrand ourselves. The public expectation of what 911 is today, I don't think we fully quite understand. I believe the public expectation has outpaced our reality. We have the introduction of next generation 911. We've been talking about this concept for a very, very long time, but what does it really mean? To me, 911 has to play catch up. We're playing catch up to all the mass amounts of data that are available, have been available for many, many years, and finally bringing that information in front of a trained emergency communication specialist to do something with that data. The communities that we serve depend on us through and through. The heroes under the headset or our emergency communication professionals that answer that call and dispatch their unit, you are truly the first of the first responders. And our mission here is very simple. With everything that we do, every decision that we make, we work to get the right people to the right place at the right time. But what makes us different is we strive to do that better than anyone else in the world. Let's be clear. The days of 911 doing clerical work are over. They've been over for a very long time. And this is why we need our congressional partners and our congressional delegation to support the 911 Saves Act that's currently sitting in Congress. We're fighting so hard for this first responder recognition, but let's be clear, not everybody is ready to act like that. We have to be sure the picture we're painting is accurate, complete, and tells the true story of what is occurring. You know, communication centers are no longer functioning in an administrative capacity. We are not just taking some information, putting it in a computer and repeating what we see on the screen. 911 centers across the country today are functioning much more as intelligence organizations, but we need to be resourced as such. And it's time for the recognition that we are due. We must be brave. We must be professional. We must be bold. We must commit to increased accuracy and precision with each and every 911 call we take and every unit we dispatch. We can't do this alone. We have phenomenal partners in the 911 industry, our fellow first responder organizations, our technology partners, and our associations, all who have to be held accountable to our mission to get the right people to the right place at the right time. The United States of America is a phenomenal country. It's a place that can provide many opportunities to really realize your destiny. And we, as 911 professionals, as the gateway to government for a lot of people in their most dire time of need, we have an obligation to ensure they are met with the equitable service. You know, everyone talks about the interaction with law enforcement and how the police are desensitized in some places to the communities that they serve. That's not just a law enforcement issue. We have a part to play in that as well. With every call that we take, no matter who's calling, they get the same level of exceptional service. And we are not being lazy, we're being very thorough in our questioning, getting really good descriptions, being very careful that we paint an accurate picture for the situation our first field responders are entering so they know how to respond. We have a part in this as well. Collectively, we all do some phenomenal work, things we should really be proud of. But let's be real. Right now in our country, not all men are created equal. To our police officers out there who are holding down the blue line, of course your life matters. The dispatchers and emergency communications professionals want nothing more for you to return home safely to your families. To our firefighters who rush into danger when we're all running out, thank you. Of course your life matters. To our EMS professionals that give us that last breath so we can hop up and keep on this journey, thank you very much, and of course your life matters. And of course, we want all lives to matter equally. But until Black lives matter, that's just not possible. We must commit ourselves to inclusion, to diversity, to tolerance, and to equity. If we do that, then one day we can finally all sing in unison, all lives matter, but we're just not there yet. Here in New Orleans, we try our very best to give exceptional service each and every time we answer that phone or that radio. The days of just coming to work are over. You must now show up. What does that mean? In every interaction, you must be sincere and empathetic, honest and humble, optimistic, well-informed and willing, upbeat and positive, and of course, procedurally compliant. If you focus on those 6 elements, success is almost guaranteed. To the newest recruit that is just now entering our organization, you have made a choice to embark on a journey that I can't think of any other industry that was just as fulfilling. You have an opportunity to be the difference between life and death. And in most cases, the work that you do equals life. Stay committed, you will be challenged, but the rewards are so great on the other end. To the veteran emergency communication professional, this is your opportunity to pour into the next generation. The industry is going to be here, whether we like it or not. So let's work very hard to make sure what we leave behind is the best we possibly can leave. To my 911 center directors, thank you for your steadfast commitment and tireless efforts to make sure your center is operating at the highest level possible. This is your time to lead. You must enter into a place of uncomfortability. You must be willing to grow. You must be willing to learn new things, new tools, new resources, and a new way of life. You come to work every day not for yourself, but for the people that you serve. These next couple of years for 911 are going to be very challenging for us in leadership. When the time comes, pick ethics over politics. Do the right thing, even when no one's looking. I know very personally this job is often thankless. So from me to you, thank you. To the mayors, police chiefs, elected officials, and many other executives in government that are supporting your 911 center director throughout this nation. Remember, they often carry the weight of your community on their shoulders. And there are moments of loneliness can be very dark. So a simple thank you, a hug goes a very long way. As this COVID-19 pandemic has presented a new norm, we understand these challenges are going to continue. We're going to have to redefine how we do business, but that's okay. But in order for us to do a comprehensive rebranding of our industry, we have to have some difficult conversations with ourselves. We're going to have to really speak to what it means to be a leader in 911. We have to lead with an innovative mind. I can't think of a single organization that didn't have a pain point like this prior to a growth spurt. This is our time. This is our time to show up, for the people we serve each and every day. This is a time to show up for our own industry, and this is a time to show up for yourself. Pour into yourself, invest in your education, invest in your future, hold people accountable, and at the end of the day, give your very best. Thank you, everyone.
And so with that, y'all, thank you all very much.
I'm Mayor LaToya Cantrell.
And I'm Tyrell Morris, Executive Director of OCCD.
And we are taking some time to show you love and appreciation to all of our telecommunicators in the city of New Orleans who work tirelessly every single day for the residents of our world-class city.
You know, 25% of 911 telecommunicators are diagnosed with PTSD. The 180 heroes under the headset work tirelessly every day to execute one basic mission: to get the right people to the right place at the right time.
And we appreciate you so much. We hear feedback from the community on and on about the great service that you provide. And if it had not been for you and your service, they tell me they don't know how they would have managed to get through the trauma and the tragedies that they've experienced.
So remember, take care of yourself.
And we know that you show up every single day. And we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, because without you, this city would be nothing. Thank you.
Cool. And again, thank you all very much for your time today. And I'll turn it back over to the Datamark crew.
Sounds good. Director Morris, thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise today. That was a lot of great information on how to show up, define those expectations for staff, and placing emphasis on the overall experience and not just those processes completed. But, you know, I really think that there's something we're all going to take home from this session in order to be more successful in our positions. So again, thank you so much. If anybody had any questions that they didn't bring up today during the session, please feel free to reach out afterwards so we can get those answers for you. And lastly, for all of the attendees on the call, please join our next session, Change Management for Next Gen 911. And in that session, you are going to learn how to successfully manage change using awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. Thank you guys, and hope to see you there. Thanks again, Director Morris.